Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today we're talking about what if Deku never got one for all. So in the last video we talked about how after Izumi revealed herself as the new inheritor of One for All, Izuku would get pissed thinking that Izumi, faked her being quirkless and also thinking that she's, pitying him for being quirkless himself. So, after basically in this room, basically punching the wall, you would hear the voice. The voice of the Irish hero. The Irish hero, or the Child of Light, known as Cuchulainn, wielder of Gaibolga. So, after he told Izuku that he would get power if he were to, move to Ireland and also train under his, old master, Skaha. After letting himself decide to, um, you know, decide to run away from home, he does. After getting all of his stuff, or at least some of it, as he would basically run away. When Bakugo saw it, he decided to try and maybe, beat him up again. But after realizing that if Izuku actually did run away, that would mean that his mother and also Inko would basically say that they're no longer, fans of him. So he would try to save, or at least tell him to stop, as Izuku is basically on a ship going to Ireland and never be seen again. After Izumi and, Inko saw the letter that he made, let's just say they were oh so sad, saying that it's their fault, including Izumi. Not only that, when Izuku finally did go to Ireland, he had to go to the burial site of Cuchulainn's grave. After making it there, he would see Skahak herself, and it turns out Skahak was actually pretty young. Maybe to a similar age to Izuku, but, more or less, she's pretty much really young. As after they were brought to the land of Sky and Shadow, that is where Izuku's going to be training from now on. Well, it's more like he was basically kicked right in the stomach and forced into that portal, and Skahak would, enter the portal, as that was basically the end of that episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, when Izuku did get kicked into the portal, he would wake up and see that he's in a cabin. As Skahak would say this, "So you're finally awake." As he would say this, "Why did you do that?" As she would say this, "Hey, don't call me her or whatever. Just call me Master. Got it?" As he would say this, sure." As she would say this, "Good. Now, we're gonna be starting your training now. Now, get up." As he would say this, Sure. Ow, my legs." As Cuchulainn would say this, "So, are you okay?" As he would say this, "Yeah. Ow, my legs." As Skahak would say this, "Here." As she would tell Izuku to go on, one of the chairs, as he would sit on it, as she would bring out this weird-looking stone, and this stone seems to have a symbol on it. When she does put it up to his, legs, it seems that it magically healed. As Izuku would say this, "What the?" As she would say this, "What? Have you seen rune magic before?" As Izuku would say this, "Wait, magic? Wait, magic is real? No, this is probably just a joke. You're just using a quirk, right?" As she would say this, "Oh, you didn't really tell her, Cuchulainn?" As he would say this, "Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you." He would explain that magic is actually real, or at least used to. Apparently, during the Age of Gods, or at least in this world, I'm actually basing it off a bit of fate. No surprise there. He would explain that the Age of Gods back then had so much magic to the point that they can basically just use it in everyday life. Until after the gods are basically separated from the humanity, and basically ended up this. So quirks became a regular thing now, which is just magic, but weaker. And I mean significantly weaker. So, Skahak would say this. So, your legs are better? As he would say this. Yeah, master. As she would say this. Good. As she would give Izuku's spear as he kind of, well, messes it up as it falls to the ground. As she would say this. You seriously need to get some work on that. Now, get up and let's go. As Izuku would say this. Sure. As he would grab the spear as he was brought outside. When he does go outside, he sees the place is basically perpetually night. As Izuku would say this. Wait, why is it nighttime? As she would say this. Oh, it's because, well, it's not really always nighttime. It's actually technically morning. As Izuku would say this. Wait, what? As she would say this. Well, the land of sky and shadow, or at least my realm, doesn't have any sunlight, so because of this, that is why I called it that. And unfortunately, there's no light at all, unless if you count candles or my rune magic. As Izuku would say this, so how am I going to train without seeing anything? As she would say this. Ahem. As several runes up in the sky would basically, act as like a floodlight, basically. As Izuku would say this. Oh, my eyes! As she would say this. Hey! As Izuku would look over as she charges forward, wielding a, well, spear, getting ready to stab him. As he would say this. What was that for? As she would say this. No hesitation. No holding back. And second, don't let your guard down. As she would charge forward, as Izuku would say this. As he would grab the spear as he blocks the attack. As she would say this. Weak. As she would kick him right in the stomach, as he would kick him right in the legs, causing him to fall down, as she would pierce the spear almost to his face, as Izuku is completely in shock. As Kukulane would say this. See, try not to let your guard down against my master. As she would say this. Hey, you. As he would say this. Yes, Skahak. As she would say this. Now, I want you to train him a little bit, Kukulane. As he would say this. Sure, Izuku. As Izuku would say this. Yes. As he would say this. I'm sorry, but we need to train, so better get ready. As he would start growing to immense size, as Skahak would say this. Using your wart spasm. A bit underhanded, to say the least, as he would say this. Hey! At least it's good training, at least. Now, for you, Izuku. Get ready. As he would start charging forward, as Izuku would block the attack. Izuku's spear would break as he would start charging forward, as he gets kicked right in the butt. Or more specifically, he gets his ass handed to him on the silver platter. Yep, and Izuku's entire body feels like it's in immense pain. As Izuku was brought back to the cabin, as he would say this. It hurts. What the hell is this training? It feels like I'm being tortured. As she would say this. You seriously need to work on all of your body parts. Including your arms, chest, legs, and your thighs. You're skinnier than the weakest chicken that I ever seen. And that chicken can probably beat you. As Izuku would say this. Harsh. As she would say this. Stay still. As his legs were basically popped back into place as he starts getting applied with some rune magic, or more specifically, some healing magic. As Izuku would say this. Ow, 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 ow. It hurts. As she would say this. Seriously, just shut up. Now, as for you, Kukulane, as she would say this. I meant he. Yes, master. As he would say this. I meant she, god dang it. she would say this. Ku, just call me Shisho, or just Skahak. Besides, you're no longer my student. As he would say this. Oh, right, Skahak. What is it, then? As he would say this, or she. I want you to bring out your spear, and give it to Izuku. After all, he is going to be training on how to use it. As he would say this. Sure. So, after creating his spear, resembling the spear in his dreams, as she would say this. Now, after we're done healing, we're going back to training. Wait for a second. As Izuku would say this. Sure, we go straight back to training. As she would say this, and don't worry. Besides, if it's gonna take few years, as Izuku would say this. Wait, what? As she would say this. Don't worry. In this world, it's going to be a bit different than the time zone there, in the outside world. As Izuku would say this. Wait, what? What do you mean by that? As she would say this. Well, in this pocket dimension, as in a few years, it would be 1 year in this case. In this case, you're gonna be training for 10 years, and after that, when you come out, or at least come back there into the outside world, or the real world, or whatever you want to call it, you'll be turning back into your normal, or at least back when you were, this age, or actually, how old are you exactly? As Izuku would say this. I'm 15. Actually, no. Maybe 14. Yeah. As she would say this. Wait, you're 14? This is going to be a little bit harder. Now, Kukulane. As she would say this. Yes? As he would say this. I meant she. Bring out your spear now. As the spear would come out, as Izuku would grab it. As she would say this. Now, I'm done with your healing. Now, let's go back to training. Immediately. As Izuku would say this. Right, master. So, Izuku would start training again. Fighting against, Skahak. Izuku would start to get a bit of an upper hand, but would still lose. So, a few months have gone by, as it's basically, maybe 4 years now. Izuku seems to be quite stronger. Not only that, seems to be much more physically, capable now. And let me check something first. So, it's been 4 years, and now he's technically 18, as Izuku would say this. That's some good training. As Skahak would say this. Yeah, not bad, Izuku. As Kukulane would say this. Yeah, you're actually pretty, maybe at the same level as me back in my prime. As Izuku would say this. Wait, really? As he would say this. Yep. Except for the whole, as Skahak would say this. Yes, I know about that. And I completely feel disappointed in you for being defeated by 3 spears. As he would say this. But those spears are magical, okay? As she would say this. Absolutely disappointed. As Kukulane would kind of feel hurt inside. As she would say this, being Skahak. Now, Izuku. Because it's almost up, being that it's almost time for you to finally leave, I want you to try and fight one of the most terrifying creatures imaginable in this realm. It's called... The name of this sea monster was called Kairoid. As Izuku would say this. Kairoid? As Kukulane would say this. Oh, you told me that thing, or at least the bones of that monster, created Gaibolga, right? As she would say this. Exactly. And I want you, Izuku, to defeat it. Got it? As Izuku would say this. As a rite of passage. As she would say this. Yes, and when you do defeat it, I will let you go. And then you can finally start your journey to become a great hero. A true hero, at least. Now, hurry up. We'll be going to the Sea of Black. As he would say this. The Sea of Black? As he would say this. I meant she. Yes, this is where the sea monster dwells. Now prepare. Bring everything that you need, including Gaibolga. As he would say this. Right. So, he would start packing all of his things as you go into the ocean. Or at least the Black Sea, where the famous monster, Kairoid, the monster, or at least the monster, or the monster's bones, that created Gaibolga. So, going through the ocean in a pretty rickety boat, to say the least, as they would make it to the Blackened Sea, or the Black Sea. As, well, Skahak would say this. Now, Izuku, dive there. As he would say this. Sure. As he would put all of his things down, as he would grab his armor, which he gotten after the time skip. As he would grab, well, Gaibolga, as he would jump into the ocean. So, going through the ocean, he would go down, and down, and down, and seeing several other sea monsters which were not Kairoid, which Izuku killed pretty easily. Not only that, he would make it to the lair of Kairoid. So, he would go inside, as he would see a little pocket of air, and sees a nest where Kairoid usually stays at. He would light a torch, as he would look around, saying, "So, where's this gigantic-ass sea monster anyway?" As he would hear a roar. The roar of Kairoid. As he would held his torch behind him where the entrance of Ski is, as he would see Kairoid in his fullest form. It resembles a squid mixed with a dragon. Not only that, it had sharp, almost crab-like claws, and beaming red eyes with several red markings all over his body. As it roared at him, as Izuku would say this. "So, this is Kairoid. Now, let's have some fun." As he would start charging forward, as he would grab his spear, as, well, Kairoid would use his claw to basically burrow it on the ground where Izuku stand, but he basically jumped over it as he starts, well, running towards the actual face of Kairoid. As he grabs his spear, as he plunges it right in his eye. After he does that, he pulls out as he runs backwards. Or more specifically, he basically jumps back as he starts, well, charging forward again. Wait for a second. So, after doing that, he would start zigzagging everywhere, as Kairoid would start using its sharp claws to basically try and crush him, but it doesn't work. As Kairoid would decide to do this, it will start breathing out this almost poisonous gas, as it would instantly hit Izuku's eye, or more specifically, this eye here. Yeah, this one specifically. As Izuku would say this, "Ah, my eye! Shit!" As Kairoid would basically roar, as Izuku would say this, "Well, you little bastard. Well then, because you took one of my eyes, how'd I take your life next?" As his body would start changing, or more specifically, his eye would start glowing a little bit, the one that got stabbed at least. or got poisoned, as Izuku would say this. I guess, let's have some fun. As he would start charging forward as he says this. Now take this! Guy Bulg! As he would charge forward as he stabs the spear right in the head of Kairoid. As he would say this. Take this! As his special ability, or more specifically, the spear special ability, happens. So about that, wait for a second. So let me explain like Guy Bolga's or Guy Bolg his special ability. So, not only it's able to like only target the heart or anything like that, just like in Legend. If you also know the legend, well, when stabbed at this specific like place, or any type of place in this in my world at least, Guy Bolga would basically spew out this almost divine like substance or whatever it is. When it does, it basically shoots throughout the bloodstream as these, or at least this vine, would actually act as like a thorny ass vine, like a like a rose. When it does, it basically shoots through the entire body and basically slices it apart. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. So, when he does pull out, the entire body of the monster, aka Kairoid, would be destroyed from the inside. As Kairoid would scream out in pain as it was defeated. Izuku would raise his spear as he would roar with a almost warrior like glee as he says this. I did it! That was tiring. So, he would grab his bag, which he carried, as he would activate one of the runes to heal his eye. But when he does, it doesn't work. As Izuku would say this. What? Why is it not working? As he would keep trying to use it, as he would say this. Come on, work! As he would say this. Oh, shit. Well, guess I'll just have to tell somebody too. Actually, should I just tell Skahawk? Yeah, I should probably tell Skahawk. So, after putting the body away, and also grabbing a piece of it, for later use at least. Yeah, he's gonna use it for later. As he would tell the sword to transform into something else. Yeah, it also has the ability to transform into a sword. So, it transforms into a sword to, chop off the body of, Kairoid, making it easier for him to basically escape because of Kairoid's gigantic ass size, it blocked the entrance. So, after escaping, he swims back up into the surface, as Skahawk would say this. So, you did it? Wait, what happened to your eye? As Izuku would say this. Well, guess I'll just have to tell you when we get back. He jumps back into the boat as they go back into the cabin. As Izuku would say this. So, Kairoid kind of spilled, or at least shoot out this weird looking substance. It definitely looked like gas, and I can't seem to heal my eye. Especially if it comes to rune magic. As she would say this. It seems that Kairoid used one of his special abilities. As he would say this. Special abilities. As she would say this. Yes. It's able to produce a gas. When this gas is shoot out, it will destroy anything. And no matter if you try to heal it, even with magic, even with the powers of a god, would not heal it. Including magic from the Age of God, so unfortunately you can't heal it. As Izuku would say this. Well, shit. As Kukulane would say this. Oh, don't worry. Besides, every scar is a glorious, trophy for a hero. Especially if it comes to me. As Izuku would say this. Yeah, I know. As Skahak would say this. So, you're finally gonna be going home now. As Izuku would say this. Yep. As Skahak would say this. Izuku. As Izuku would say this. Yes, master. As she would say this. Don't call me master anymore. You're no longer my student. You mastered everything that I learned. Just call me Skahak from now on. Now, I think it's better for you to prepare to go back home. After all, you are leaving tomorrow. As Izuku would say this. Well, yes, Skahak. As she would say this. Anyway, Izuku. As Izuku would say this. Yes, Skahak. She would say this. Be careful, and I'm proud of you. Wait for a second. As Izuku would say this. He would start tearing up. But it's not the tears of sadness, but tears of joy. Say this. Thank you, Skahak. I've never been so loved. Even if it comes to my mother. Thank you. As she would say this. Now, Izuku. You can sleep now. You earned it. As Izuku would say this. Okay, Skahak. So, he goes back to bed as he goes to sleep. The next day comes as it's now time for him to leave. As he would activate the portal, allowing him to go back to the real world. When he puts his hand through that portal, it turns him back into a 15-year-old. Yes, no longer 14, he's now 15. As she would say this. Now, Izuku, go on. Wait a second. So, Izuku would say this. So, it's finally the day. The day of me finally going back home. As she would say this. Go on. As Izuku would run over and hug Skahak. As she would say this. What is this? As Izuku would say this. Thank you for everything, Skahak. As she would say this. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, start going now. Hope to see you again, I guess. As Izuku would say this. Hope to see you again, Skahak. And thank you for everything. See ya. As Kukulane would say this. So, my legacy. As Skahak would say this. What is it, Kukulane? As she would look over, as Kukulane would start to almost disappear, as he would say this. My dreams have been fulfilled. The next generation. My successor. Skahak. As she would say this. What is it, Kukulane? As he would say this. When he comes back, say that I hope to see him again. Maybe in another life. As Kukulane would disappear. As she would say this. That damn idiot. So, I guess, hope to see you again, Izuku. So, Izuku is now currently outside of the portal, now turned into a 15-year-old. As Izuku would say this. Even though my body is now 15, I still have my muscles. Pretty lucky. Now, where should I go now? Yeah, I should probably go back to Japan. But, as he would think, oh yeah, I do know how to speak Irish now. So, after speaking to some locals and also telling them that he's going to be going to Japan, they would tell him that there's a nearby train and also a yacht that's going to be going to Japan. So, after being told of this, he would go on that train and also go on that yacht, and he would start getting ready to go back home, back to his country, Japan. And so, this is gonna be the end of this episode. So, tomorrow, guys, I'm gonna be talking about the next, well, what if, being what if Deku was an Oni? And so, before you leave, guys, I want all of you guys to pick a ship for this what if, and also for what if Deku was an Oni. So, yeah. So, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!